What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, sorry for the late video. I was just getting home, actually. It's about like 10:30 when I was doing this video. Because we had Cody's wedding day today. So I was down in Indiana and watching Cody get married. So let's do a hashtag congrats Cody in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and congrats to Grace and Cody for getting married. Shout out to both of you. Really happy for you, and really glad to see you both getting married and enjoying the rest of your lives together. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and hop into this video. I was able to catch a little bit of the game throughout the ceremony and the reception and everything. Otherwise, I was kind of feeding off of what I was getting on Twitter and everything else, or X, I guess you could say it. But anyways, so of course, Colts go into Carolina. This was going to be the battle of, if the Colts would have lost this one to Frank Reich, a lot of different things that could have happened, right? A lot of talk would have been happening, but the Colts, from what I was able to gather, the Colts just made life uncomfortable for Carolina and especially Bryce Young for the majority of this game. I mean, what more can you say? Let's go ahead and hop into the first couple things that I did notice. Offensively, we'll just start there. The offense in general, Gardner Minshew finished 17 of 26 for 127 yards, a touchdown. So obviously, not a bad completion percentage. But of course, like we said, he was averaging he was basically only averaging, I think, about 7. Yeah, it was basically about 7 yards a catch. There wasn't much to go off of with this. I mean, greatly enough, Gardner only had to throw the ball 26 times. But Gardner, in those 26 attempts, there wasn't a ton that really impressed you. It was once again the issue of just not being able to move the ball effectively, especially with Gardner Minshew. Again, there wasn't a lot of big plays that happened both from the run game and the pass game, but from a pass game perspective only, just wasn't a lot there. And this is going to continue to be an issue for the remainder of the season. This is why you want a guy like Anthony Richardson out there, a guy that can expand the field and be able to do those things. The few throws that I did get to watch Gardner Minshew make, a lot of them were not great. So, I mean, I'm totally getting that vibe. And, the Colts, he was basically a game manager for the most part in this game. I think it's the first time this year, I believe, where Gardner Minshew has played in a game for Indianapolis and didn't turn the ball over. At least within the last 4 games that Gardner's been the starter for the Indianapolis Colts, he didn't turn the ball over today. No interceptions and no fumbles, which is great. He only sacked 1 time too. So again, a game manager. That's all he was. And it stinks to see it, but at the same time, it was enough to help us get past the team that we were facing. I think Steichen and the group knew what was coming of that. But in regards to the run game, not much a success there either. Jonathan Taylor, 18 carries for 47 yards. Zach Moss, 7 carries for 26 yards. All in all, if you take the running backs, they had 25 carries for 73 yards. So you weren't even averaging 3 yards a carry. So from a total perspective, the Colts offense did not generate much pressure on the Carolina defense today. I mean, Bryce Young had more passing yards, than Gardner Minshew. But of course, Bryce Young also threw the ball 13 more times in this game because the Carolina Panthers were down pretty much the entire game. Only couple people that I guess I can say when it comes to the offense. I mean, Michael Pittman, 8 catches for 64 yards. Caught all 8 of his targets today. Just ultimately didn't make a lot of big catches, like big-time game-changing catches. Jonathan Taylor, 5 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. The only offensive touchdown that the Indianapolis Colts got all day. So thank you to Jonathan Taylor for pulling it out. Other than that, you really didn't see much. Josh Downs went down earlier in the game with a knee injury. It was the same knee that was bothering him earlier. That'll be something to monitor as we move into the game next week against New England and Germany. That's going to be an interesting one. And it sucks, man. This draft class has just been decimated with injuries. Anthony Richardson, season ending. Juju Brents, we drafted him. He was already injured, and now he's injured again for however many weeks. Josh Downs might have a lingering issue going into this next week and the remainder of the season, and I could just keep going. It sucks because, I mean, for as many guys as we drafted, to have so many guys lose out on their seasons, really tough, really tough. It's just something you most of the time cannot take into account. But overall, the offense definitely needs to try to get healthier and definitely needs to get back into the better swing of things because the offensive performance they had against Carolina is not going to cut it against other teams. Now, in regards to the defense, a little bit of a different story there. Now, I will say the one bad thing about the Indianapolis Colts defense, once again, did not have a good day at stopping the run. Chuba Hubbard, 16 carries for 58 yards, 3.5 yards a carry. Bryce Young, at the end of the game, when he was having to run around everywhere, he had those 5 rushes for 41 yards because earlier in the first half, he wasn't running as much, maybe avoiding pressure every once in a while. But in the second half, he was running a lot more frequently. So he was able to get some good yardage. Miles Sanders, 6 carries for 39 yards. So on the day, had 27 carries for 138 yards, basically rounding out to about 5 yards a carry. So we kind of expected that. Grover Stewart still not being there. And, of course, Zaire Franklin missing this game. So, of course, this defense was going to struggle stopping the run. They already struggled stopping the run throughout the year. And missing your best tackler and your best nose guy or your best guy in the middle at stopping the run, yeah, you're gonna struggle with that. But the one thing that was the most important was how were you going to impact the Carolina Panthers in the pass game? And that is exactly what the Indianapolis Colts did. They made life hell for Bryce Young throughout the day, and I'm very happy with what we saw. 24 of 39 for 173 yards, 1 touchdown for Bryce Young on the day, 3 interceptions, sacked 4 times today, and Bryce Young finishes with a QB rating of a QBR of 11.2. So, I mean, honestly, guys, outside of the one big play that the Colts gave up to Hayden Hurst, I don't remember when that actually happened, but besides the 48-yard catch that Hayden Hurst had, the Indianapolis Colts had Carolina locked down in the pass game. I mean, their next best receiver was Adam Thielen, who had 5 catches for 29 yards, and their best reception outside of that 48-yarder was an 11-yard catch by Tommy Tremble and Miles Sanders. That's all you got. So the Indianapolis Colts definitely did a better job at stopping the pass. And shout out to Kenny Moore, the guy who made it all happen today. He was solely responsible for 12 of Indianapolis's 27 points, 2 pick sixes, first guy in Colts history to get 2 pick sixes in a game. Probably one of the only few guys in the league who has ever done that. I don't think it's very common. I don't think there's a ton of guys in the NFL's vast history that has had a guys get 2 pick sixes in the same game. Kenny Moore, superstar today, was just always in the right spot at the right time and was able to capitalize on Bryce Young's mistakes. And it's the first time with Gardner Minshew as the starter for the Indianapolis Colts that the Indianapolis Colts won the turnover battle. They had those 3 interceptions. And then you talking about the fumble that Chuba Hubbard had, it didn't get recovered by Indy, but there was multiple times of at least 4 different opportunities today that the Indianapolis Colts had to get the football, and they did that and converted them into points. And that was the one thing that we were always killing ourselves over, especially in those first 2 games with Gardner when they went to Jacksonville and Cleveland. They had these turnovers that these teams were scoring points off of against us. And now the shoe is on the other foot now. We were able to get 14 points off of 3 turnovers by Bryce Young in this game. I think it might, and I don't even think, I don't think we scored any points off the 3rd interception. But going off of some of the guys, shout out to Shaq Leonard, 10 tackles today, led the team in that category. So good to see Shaq Leonard back in that perspective. Kenny Moore, like I said, 8 total tackles, 2 pass deflections, 2 pick sixes. Kenny Moore, can't say enough about him. Segun Alubi also had an interception on the day to pretty much seal the deal at the end there. DeForest Buckner, 4 tackles. He had 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 QB hits. DeForest Buckner early in the game was a menace. He was a menace early in the game. He really got Carolina off their rhythm very early in the game. And that was very helpful for the Indianapolis Colts to build up on a lead, which had DeForest Buckner doing it. Other guys who had sacks today, Eric Johnson, the second, with a half sack today. Kwity Paye with a half sack as well. Adetomiwa with his first sack, his first NFL sack. We haven't seen much of Adetomiwa all season. Mainly has been a healthy scratch. But with some of these guys that are having these injuries, Adetomiwa came in late and was able to get some movement going. Finally gets his first sack of his NFL career. Really great to see that. Dayo Adangbo also with 1 sack on the day. His one and only tackle of the day. So Indianapolis, again, four sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 8 pass deflections. They were making life miserable for Bryce Young and this offense. They were unable to get anything going. And that is exactly what you wanted to see if you were an Indianapolis Colts fan, because they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Take advantage of a weaker offensive line and a weaker coaching staff and a weaker personnel group on the outside and be able to take advantage of a young rookie quarterback that was flustered and making bad decisions. And that ultimately, the Colts were able to capitalize on that. And I mean, MVP of the game is Kenny Moore. I mean, the dude scored more points by himself than, I mean, if you want to take into account the 2 extra points that you get on top of it, he scored more points than Carolina did all by himself. So, again, Kenny Moore is the MVP of this game. The one bad thing that did happen, the special teams units, they have been bad. Let's just call it as it is. I mean, Isaiah McKenzie obviously had the fumble on the punt return, and that resulted in Carolina getting to our side of the field. But thankfully, due to DeForest Buckner was able to put an end to that and was able to keep Carolina from being able to score any points. So we got lucky with that. The special teams units have not been great since Bubba Ventrone left, and it has been worse. And got to wonder if Isaiah McKenzie is going to keep losing his spot in some of these areas because of these mistakes, because that could have really cost the Indianapolis Colts at the end there. But overall, guys, this was the game. The Colts really needed this one. You were 3-5. You were, heading into a back stretch of the schedule where you think you can be favored in a lot of these. And, you needed a win against a bad team in Carolina. Carolina, who had all the momentum going into this game, their first win last week against the Houston Texans, and you were able to do that, and you were able to show dominance, especially from a defensive side of perspective, which you hadn't done for the majority of the season. And then you show it against Carolina, and you were able to get everything done that you wanted. No Frank Reich revenge game here for Carolina. Indianapolis wins this one 27-13, improving to 4-5 on the books as they head to Germany to take on New England. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.